Now it is a great privilege to introduce a champion of civil rights and a steadfast voice for freedom, Ms. Linda Chavez. Ms. Chavez is the chair of the Center of Equal Opportunity and formerly served as the director of the White House Office of Public Liaison. Throughout her distinguished career, she has worked tirelessly to defend democratic values, equal opportunity, and human rights, both in the United States and around the world. Most importantly, for us today, she is a dear and trusted friend of Ms. Maryam Rajavi and the Iranian resistance. She has stood shoulder to shoulder with the Iranian people in her pursuit for a free, democratic, and non-nuclear Republic of Iran. Now please join me in a warm welcoming of Ms. Chavez.
درود بر رجوی.
Thank you very much for that very nice introduction. And I must say that every time I am with you, you inspire me. I have been side by side with the MEK throughout my long history working on human rights, going back to the 1990s when I was the independent U.S. expert at the United Nations Human Rights Subcommission. That was the first time that I ever met anyone from the MEK. And when I met them, I was amazed at the amount of information they gave me and shared with me about what was happening in Iran to the Iranian people. The tortures, the murders, the public hangings, Evin prison, where so many, and even some people, I assume, in this crowd, have been imprisoned. So in 2012, I was first asked to come and meet Madame Rajavi in Paris and to join with the resistance movement there as someone who believes in freedom and believes in the right of people to self-determination. All of the world right now is focused on what is happening in the Middle East and in Iran in particular. And it is unfortunate that it takes bombs dropping to get people to understand what is happening in Iran. Because what is happening now, the murders, the executions of these wonderful resistance fighters who were displayed here in the first row, which have occurred only in the last few days. This is something that goes on in Iran day in and day out. And while I think it is important to fight this tyranny and for the world to gather together to support those who are fighting the Iranian regime, in the end, it is the Iranian people who are going to determine the fate of Iran. There must be regime change. We've been talking about that literally for decades, but that regime change will come when the people themselves rise up. And what will take place after the regime changes? Well, we know Madame Rajavi has a 10-point plan that supports, as the ambassador suggested, all of the things that we as Americans believe, basically the freedoms of the 10 amendments to our Constitution that constitute the Bill of Rights, and also many of the principles that are embedded in the Constitution itself. She believes, and the MEK and the National Council of Resistance believe, in the freedom to choose their own leaders. They believe in the freedom to choose how they will worship, that there should not be a state religion that imposes a certain set of beliefs on all people. Love of God must come from within the human soul. Each and every individual has the right to decide how to exercise that freedom. Similarly, men and women must stand side by side as partners and must be given equal rights. You cannot have a state that essentially will not recognize half of its population and their rights, that basically make them like chattel. They cannot have control over their own children. They have none of the political and civil rights that men have, which are very limited in Iran, but Iranian women have even less. So we're gathered here today, and it's not an accident that we are gathered at the foot of the U.S. Capitol. Because one of the things that I think we need to fight for, those of us who are Americans, is recognition of the resistance movement led by Madame Rajavi. She has proven herself a leader, and we have seen support for that resistance movement, as the ambassador suggested, from Republicans, but we've also seen it from Democrats. And in fact, the resolutions being sponsored in the Senate and the House have both Democrat and Republican co-sponsors. And I think that's important. It used to be in America that our partisanship ended at the shore, that we might have our differences here in the United States when we're at home, but once the United States projected its image to the world, we stood united. We need to do that again, and one of the things that I've been very heartened by in terms of the National Resistance Movement, the National Council of Resistance of Iran, is the way in which they have brought people together who may bicker and dispute and not agree on much of anything when it comes to domestic policy, but they are agreed on the threat that Iran poses. So it is both a wonderful and humbling experience to be invited to join you today. But as I look out over that sea of faces, and particularly those faces in the first row, these are people who a week or two ago were alive, but they have been executed by this dreadful regime in Iran. We have to remember that it is not just a handful. It's not even the handful of placards that we show here. In 1988, the regime killed 30,000 people. It is almost unimaginable, the kind of slaughter that has taken place. So I want to give you my encouragement. Thank you for your support of this movement, and perhaps in the not too distant future, we won't be in front of the Capitol, we'll be in the streets of Tehran. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez, and for your years of dedication to human rights around the world, regardless of origin. Now,